But anyways, um, a person may project human-like qualities onto the objects, attributing emotions, thoughts, or even personalities to it, and that's called projection of feelings. I think we do that with all things. You know, so like I notice like if I'm feeling like down or depressed, and I'm like talking to my dog, and I'm like, "Oh, what's wrong, boy? You feeling blue?" And I'll just be like, and I'll realize I'll be like asking him, or I'll be like, "Yo, what's wrong?" Like, or like, "Are you happy?" And I realize that I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? So we project things and we don't even know it. But some people take it to the perverse levels, and they project their naughties onto, you know, maybe sex dolls, cucumbers, uh, a hole in the mattress. Some individuals may have had difficult interpersonal relationships or trauma that makes human connection challenging, leading them to develop affection for objects instead. Oh, that's past experiences that led to traumatic events. Like if someone was sexually abused, or kidnapped, or let down by maybe like a father or mother figure. Perhaps a best friend, you know, was like, that game where you hide behind the couch and then you have your other friends come in to try to like get the new friend to like talk shit on you while you're hiding. Well, maybe it was too much of those behind underneath the couch sessions, and the friends got betrayed. Who knows what it could be? It could be anything. But trauma, yeah, like the PTSD, it's amazing the lengths the brain will go to self-preservation. You know, an object may also hold deep personal meaning, memories, or represent an ideal or love or comfort. But there it is, symbolic meaning. There we go, the VHS tape. Like I said, I didn't even know it. I didn't even know that I suffered from OS. What's it called? Objectophilia. Because I have that VHS tape and I hold it and I come. I just have to pick it up. I can't even if I look at it, I get hard. You know, because there was this like amazing taker of dicks. She would just like swallow, like just be able to like whoop down the hatch. I forget her name. Heather, maybe. She was blonde, and she like made all her own pornos. This was like early 2000s. Oh my god, dude! As a young child, I wasn't even a young child. I guess as like a teenager. Yeah, as a young teenager. Even an adult teenager. Even now, it was just the best. Just thinking back about the vintage porn of your that was new in your day. You ever come across like a porn video? Let me know. Email me echoes and escapades fanmail at gmail.com. You ever come across like an old porn video you haven't seen in like 10, 15 years? And then you're like, you get that childhood boner that you haven't had in a while. Some societies and belief systems encourage animism, which is the belief that objects have souls or spirits, which could reinforce attachments. So there's cultural and social factors that come into play here when you want to start fucking things that aren't real. You know? Maybe in different cultures, maybe some indigenous cultures. Or maybe whatever the opposite of indigenous is. Maybe that culture as well. While objectphilia, it's not widely recognized as a mainstream practice in most cultures, it is said to believe there is a school of thought that says that indigenous and animistic belief systems have traditions that might align with ideas of forming deep emotional bonds. with objects. So let's see. We have in Japan, there's something called the Shinto belief, where objects such as swords, mirrors, and even everyday items, like perhaps a brush, it's every woman's first love, can be inhabited by spirits known as kami. Some people form deep reverence and even emotional connections with these kamis. So the Japan are out there fucking commies. They think that like the cucumber, they put a little smiley face on it. They maybe etch it in with their chopstick, and then they whittle it down, and then they have the soul of the kami in the cucumber pussy. You never know, but that's Japan. That's Shintoism. Let's see. There's indigenous American, and then there's African animisms. Its various indigenous groups believe that objects, especially those tied to ancestors or spiritual rituals, carry power and personality. While this is more about respect and spirituality, strong personal bonds with objects are not unheard of. So you could be thinking about your ancestors, come across, grandpa's sword, and stick the butt handle of it in your butt. I don't know. Or your front butt, which is the pussy. Let's see. Papua New Guinea. They have sacred objects that they stick inside themselves or down their mouth holes. They're known as kula items. They carry deep emotional and social significance. That says that it's not always romantic, but it could be. But they're personal attachments. So maybe that's less sexual. Maybe, you know what I mean? I don't know. If you suck on something, is that sexual? Because if you breastfeed, that's not sexual to the baby. Now, some mothers, they get turned on by it, and I don't think that's like Southern behavior, but it's just like, these natural, I think chemicals, get secreted from somewhere to the mother's brain while her titties are getting sucked, There's a better way to say it. For milk. But you know what I'm saying. And I don't even know where I was going with that. So I wonder if people are like falling in love with inanimate objects. They got OS for short. There are some prime examples of this being socially acceptable. One, there was Erica Eiffel. She married the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower. Erica Eiffel, a woman from the tower. She even had a commitment ceremony with the monument in 2007 and legally changed her last name to Eiffel. She is also the founder of Objectum Sexuality Internationale, or OSI for short, a community for people who experience romantic attraction to objects. But I wonder if she ever got arrested, Because if you love something that much, you're going to want to stick your, genitalias on it. Or in it. So a woman might just go up and do, rub-a-dub-dub. I don't know. Like, men, they wear trench coats, with nothing underneath. And then they go to, playgrounds and expose their privates to passerby. But women, I don't know, what's their trench coat equivalent, I don't know, but I wonder what she did. She must have gotten sexual, if she married the Eiffel Tower, maybe she allegedly, she's a U.S. woman. Yeah, see it would take somebody from the U.S. to do that, I think, because she took the wrong last name. It's called Eiffel Tower, right? So she changed her last name to Eiffel, but she should have changed her last name to Tower, because Eiffel's the first name of the tower, and Tower's the surname of Eiffel. So she should have been Erica Tower. Maybe throw an Eiffel in the middle, Erica Eiffel Tower. hyphenated. Then there was this woman called Rita Eckloff Berliner Mauer. And she married the Berlin Wall. A Swedish woman named Rita claimed to have fallen in love with the Berlin Wall as a child. And she eventually married it in 1979, but was devastated when it was torn down in 1989, just 10 years later. She said she preferred the objects over people and had a strong emotional bond with the structures. So she had a strong emotional bond with the wall, the Berlin Wall, you know. Maybe she had a strong emotional attachment for what it stood for, you know. Because she didn't like it when it was rubble-doubled. Like the rubble, the pieces of the wall, she liked the intact wall. And that's another situation. It's like she only ever saw one side of the wall, you know. So how can you really fall in love with it? You only know 50% of the sides. You only know half the equation. Because the wall, every wall has two sides, you know? This was like East and West Germany, right? So it doesn't say what side she was on, but if she was Swedish, she was probably on maybe whatever side was not Hitler, you know? If that's even in the same time zone. I have no idea. That's how ignorant I am to that. But, so yeah, I guess Sheila... but yeah, anyways, sorry. I was just looking at my thing here, my podcast bar, and I was like, oh, is it still recording? I was like, wait, how long have I been talking for? But anyways, so she married the Berlin Wall, but she only had 10 years with it, dude. You'd think after it got torn down, she'd be thankful, because then she'd get both sides. Or she'd be even able to pocket some of that. Take a piece of the wall, and then she'd be able to take it home for discretionary purposes, you know? Maybe she starts by unbuttoning her blouse, removing her panties. If she has them Swedish panties, they're probably laced, you know? And then she could just take that wall and just like rub it on her bathing suit area. But then, you know, if we talk about her, then we have to talk about Nathaniel. A man named Nathaniel, featured on the show My Strange Addiction, revealed that he was in a romantic and physical relationship with his car, a red Chevrolet Monte Carlo he named Chase. He described feeling intense love for Chase and engaging in intimate acts with it. So Nathaniel was a homosex, you know? So he had both OS and was gay. Now, did the car turn him gay, or was he already gay? You know? Not that there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, so he had gay sex with his Monte Carlo named Chase. That's Nathaniel. Probably from the United States. It doesn't say. Then we have Amanda Liberty from British. And she announced her engagement to a chandelier named Lumiere. She claimed to have always been attracted to objects and found deep emotional fulfillment in her relationship with Lumiere. Probably because she could turn them on and off whenever she wanted, you know? Like, boom, shut up, Lumiere! Beep! Or, it's like, Lumiere, your light bulb. Oh, you know what she'd probably like to do? She'd probably like to keep the lights on all day, right? And then she'd get her little mittens on, and then she'd cut the power.